Welcome to The Big Picture. I'm Phil Arno. Today, one of the subjects I'd like to talk about is the word free. We hear that word a lot today, but a lesson I learned growing up was that there are very few things in life that are truly free. The sun on your face as you walk on the beach, that's free. You can catch a cold pretty easily, that's free too. But for the most part, in this life, things have a cost. So why do we hear so much about free stuff? Well, because we like the idea of free. Most of that free stuff, though, comes with a catch. Like when you order that thing online that they generously will give you a second one for free, all you have to do is pay for shipping and handling. A classic example of free came in the 1920s when there was an industrious kind of guy named Carlo Bianchi. He came up with a plan for people where if you gave him some money, say $100, in 45 days he'd give you back $150. If you waited 90 days, he'd give you $200. Wow, that's like free money. But you see, Carl got that free money to give you from the multitude of people who were throwing money at him to get into this great deal. All this worked out until not enough people were coming in to pay for all the people who were cashing out. When that happened, Carlo, who by the way was known at the time by his other name, Charles Ponzi, he had to pay the piper for all that free money that wasn't so free. Now, people don't often connect the two, but when we hear our illustrious governor, Andrew the Great, say he's going to give the people of New York free this or free that, a lot of people just think, wow, he's being so generous. And it's true. Governor gives a lot, is being generous. The only problem is, much like our buddy Carlo Bianchi, he's being generous with other people's money. Not his, other people's. So let's get this straight. New York State gives you something for free. Healthcare, education, food, whatever. Are the doctors not getting paid? Are the hospitals not charging? Are the pharmaceutical companies donating all the medicine? No. There's still cost. How is it being paid? Taxes. The more free stuff from New York, the higher the taxes. The higher the taxes, the more people leave New York. The less people paying taxes, the more we have to raise taxes to make up for the people who leave, and so on, and you get the picture. It's unsustainable. Sooner or later, like any Ponzi scheme, something has to give. The reason I bring this up is that New York is the first state to generously offer free college education to anyone who wants it, kind of. But we also want to talk about, in light of this generosity, private college. How can it compete, and what are the challenges and what are the advantages? There are a lot of other things to discuss because today my guest on The Big Picture is John Hurley, president of Canisius College. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you, Phil. Good to be here.
It's something that is transitional now because a lot of people are saying, wow, free college, why should I pay and go into debt possibly when I can do this for free? But as we all know, there's always downsides to things like this. As president of a private college, and I am an alumni of Canisius, and I know the quality of education that the Jesuits provide. What are the challenges that you face in light of this latest development with the state?
Well, in a word, it's hard to compete with free in the private schools. But this movement began really in earnest in the 2016 presidential election when Bernie Sanders was urging on a national basis free college tuition. And it somehow has caught fire with younger people. I think because so many of them have gone through college and have incurred debt to do so. And that's where, you know, I'm concerned about the free college movement, but I'm also very, very sensitive about the cost of higher education and what that means. But you know, the problem here with the New York plan is that we have this great set of private colleges and universities in New York State, you know, measuring, you know, like 110 schools that have been around forever and have been doing a great job of educating New Yorkers, and creating free public tuition is very much putting them at risk.
And in addition to that competition, if you will, the overall population for college students is shrinking. So that's another pressure.
Well, across the Northeast, but New York in particular, since about 2010, we've seen a 20% decline in the number of high school graduates. That's reflective of some population loss in New York. People think New York continues to grow, but it doesn't. And it's also basic demographics. Young people for the last 20 years have been getting married later and having fewer children. And we're seeing this now in the elementary and the secondary school systems, and it's hit higher education as well.
Now, does free college education, in your opinion, will that equate to taking the education less seriously, not putting in the effort that you would put in if you're paying for it? You're taking it more seriously if you have to earn it.
Well, there's a possibility of that. I think you and I both come from a generation in which we worked our way through college. I worked my way through high school, delivering newspapers every day. And as I reflect back on that experience, I felt like I had some skin in the game, and it made me more serious and more, I think, appreciative of what I was getting. When I think about a free college tuition, we're going to have to see what the results are. Are the retention rates of students in the system going to be the same, or will people say, "Well, I gave it a try and it didn't work out, and I left"? There was a major movement during the Clinton administration to promote home ownership, and they felt everyone should own a home. And we saw what happened in 2008 with the housing bubble. Not everyone was ready to own a home, and they weren't ready for that financial responsibility. So simply saying that we should promote something because everyone should have it, I kind of question that logic.
Well, I'm full of good old phrases, and one of the phrases is the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
My mother said that often.
And you know what? It's based in truth. I mean, it's not just a phrase, but something you have to take seriously. The research that I've done, the latest research that I've found, the 4-year graduation rate between the public schools, the SUNY system, and the private schools such as Canisius, the private schools have about a 40% higher graduation rate at the 4-year mark than the public schools. And I'm not sure what the cause of that is, but it's a figure that you can say, look, you're going to a private school, you're more likely to graduate in 4 years than you are if you go to a government school.
Well, there are. In fairness, there are many factors that affect the graduation rate, and it begins with the quality of the entering class that you're measuring. So there are schools that are decidedly less selective than, say, a Canisius College, where the retention rates will not be as good because the students come in not as well prepared to do college level work, and that's fine. I mean, there is a certain amount of access that really must be afforded to students to allow people to advance themselves and to make something of themselves in life. But and then there is this kind of self-selection. The students that are very serious about getting an education come to a private school. But you're right, the availability of courses that would allow an on-time graduation is a big issue. And when you're in a big system, that sometimes doesn't work as smoothly as they'd like.
Well, I'm going to give you a chance to be a salesman here now. Tell me what is special about private education, Canisius is an example, what's an advantage to going to a private college? I mean, what kind of things that give you a quality education?
Yeah, well, I think at Canisius, and I think this is true of other places, but I think at Canisius we take great pride in the fact that we focus on the individual student and maximizing every individual student's potential. So we talk about offering a transformative education at Canisius, something that, and I was saying this just the other day in a talk to our faculty and staff. At commencement, parents will approach me very often with tears in their eyes, and they'll talk about the outstanding young man or woman their son or daughter has become during the 4 years they were at Canisius. And those are very, very encouraging stories, but that's the kind of education. How do we do it? A lot of personal attention. It takes a lot of effort, but I think our faculty the faculty we hire and the staff we hire want to do this. They want to interact with students. The students are the reason for being.
Well, that's a good point. One of the decisions that we had to make, I have two boys in college now, and one of the decisions was how crowded the classes would be and how much attention they could get if they were having difficulties or if they needed guidance. And we found that the class sizes in the SUNY system were a lot larger, and they would tend to get lost in the student body, in the student population, as opposed to a private school where they would get a little bit more of what they needed in terms of direction and guidance.
Yeah, so we're trying to balance that all the time as to the affordability, because the smaller the class size, the more expensive the education. So we balance that concern with providing the student with everything that he or she needs to succeed and thrive.
Well, another old phrase is you often get what you pay for. and so we're out of time in this segment, but when we come back, I think we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about a few other subjects concerning the church and the direction that things have been going into lately, some of the difficulties. Stay tuned, we'll be right back after this.